welcome back to the Pokemon Team Creation Series. Today we're looking from Talon. I think it's pronounced Talon. It's spelled T-A-L-Y-N, so I'm going to assume that's Talon, not Talon. Ask the question, what is Wednesday Addams' Pokemon team? Wednesday Addams, Jenna Ortega just, fucking killed it on the show. I only saw bits of the show. I haven't actually gotten around to watching it yet. But the little I saw, she killed it. And they are doing a season 2, which, hey, look, I got to get on season 1. But, hey, she just embodied that role, so good for her. But obviously, what character Wednesday Addams has existed long since the Wednesday show, as the Addams family has been around since, I believe, the 60s. And we've had different interns. Obviously, the Barry Sonnenfeld version was the version everyone knew for the longest time. That was the one they identified. We also had the TV show, the multiple TV shows. I remember watching the Fox Family version of it. And I liked that version. It really actually was a very enjoyable version. Even had some cameos from the original Gomez Islands from the TV series was Gomez's dad. So there was some fun to be had with that. Then you had, there was a direct-to-DVD movie with Tim Curry as Gomez. And then we went years without an Addams family at all. And then you had the animated film that came out a couple years ago, which was actually a pretty big hit, which gave us the sequel, which was less of a big hit. I still liked it, but it wasn't anywhere near as good as the first one. The first one was actually pretty fun. Right now we have Wednesday, and yeah, look, we're in their Addams-sance, I guess it is. We had them returning to the screen in the animated form. Now we got Wednesday. Who knows what else we can get? But the point is, what do we get when we make a Pokemon team for Wednesday? And this is a legitimate question. So, oh crap, did I forget one? Hold on one second. I'm pretty sure I didn't forget one. Okay, no, I didn't. Sorry, the way it looks on my OBS screen, it can sometimes look like there's 5 and not 6 items, but I just have to scroll down. Anyway, let's just get into it. So right out the gate, I knew one Mon out of this line had to be on the team. Out of the Gothitelle line. I just knew that. But which one was it? Well, I actually went with Gothorita. The reason is Gothitelle is the fully evolved Mon, and I feel like that's something like Morticia would have. The fully evolved Goth, if you will. Whereas Wednesday's still an adult. She's not a child, but she's an adolescent. As we see in the series, she's an early teen at this point, or mid-teen. So it makes sense that we'd had the middle stage Gothorita here. By the way, there's no more in a Wednesday Addams Pokemon line than the Gothitelle line, especially if you see how she dresses a lot. I mean, just this, and you look at Gothorita here, that's not a bad 1-to-1. Add on the fact that she still braids her hair. She does wear bow ties depending on how she's dressed. So no, that aesthetically is the most Wednesday Addams line you can have. But I went Gothorita because it's the middle stage and she's a teenager. That makes sense to me. What would also make sense beyond this point is a couple ghost types. Now, when we talk about ghost types, I did want to lean towards things that at least tried to be a bit more towards her identifying taste, particularly her taste for the macabre. So the first ghost type that the two ghost types that I really added to the team, one was Yamask, and then the other to have a bit more of a powerhouse on the team was Trevenant. Now, why these two? Well, Trevenant has this extra meaning because there's a sentient willow tree or tree that lives in their yard. So that makes sense. You could make that analogy. But beyond that, it goes basically to the origins of these two Pokemon. Both of these are the spirits of people or children with Phantup that basically found either wood or they resurrected as a Pokemon, and their human face is on the mask. That's macabre as F. So it makes sense that you would have, if you're talking about someone who's very into the macabre, that these would be Mon that could be on the team and lend themselves to her team. Beyond that, though, especially when we get into the series itself, you need to have a thing. You need to have a little hand Mon that represents her little friend that helps her out. But the problem with that is there is no sentient walking hand Pokemon. There's just nothing. There's not even anything really close. Nothing that even really looks like a hand. Like I tried to go into like the ghost, and I figured it'd be a ghost type mon, due to the fact that thing technically is a reanimated hand corpse, more or less. He's a zombie to some degree, but it got tricky because there really isn't any good option. I thought, well, you could do Corsola Galarian, because if you turn it upside down, it looks kind of like a hand. No, that's stupid. That doesn't work. Then I'm like looking at some of the other ones, like, well, what about that? No. So I'm like, okay, I have to branch out a little bit. What if I don't use thing as what thing is, a walking sentient hand, moving sentient hand? But what if I use thing in the sense of what thing is to Wednesday? A friend, a helper, an assistant, but still keeping to the spirit of what thing also is, a zombified hand that's been brought back to life. So I'm like, okay, I can still go with ghost type, but I want something that it wants to be helpful, aid individuals, and just is trying to be a good friend. And I'm thinking on that, I'm like, well, there's one that fits, I think, in that regard, and that's Mimikyu. Mimikyu, obviously, is the disguise Pokemon. Now, in terms of how Mimikyu is ultimately portrayed, there's not a lot in terms, like, he's not a hand. I mean, he's got hands, obviously. He's not a zombie, per se. He's a ghost type. But what does work, I think, is really just Mimikyu wants to be loved and liked. That's why he disguises himself as a Pikachu, because otherwise, if anyone were to gaze into this Pokemon, they would actually apparently die. It's so horrific. Now, thing isn't that bad, or I think he might scare the crap out of someone who's not prepared for him, but ultimately, that's what Mimikyu and Thing both do. They're just there to help, and they want to be, they want to be loved, and they're there to help out their friends when they need it. Add on the fact that he is a little Pokemon that just scurries around, just like Thing does, and I think that's not a bad option. I do think that's not a bad option. Also, being a sentient hand means it is hard to kill Thing, although Thing nearly did die in the series. For anyone who hasn't watched the series, I have seen that bit. But they were able to save him. So, yeah, I'll go Mimikyu on that, definitely. These last two lead more into hobby and habit. Along with being a fan of macabre, Wednesday has a habit of torture, particularly her brother or those who torment her brother. As we saw again in the series, she got expelled from that school by putting piranhas into the swimming pool to attack the kids that were bullying her brother, saying only she's allowed to do that. And so I knew I needed a Pokemon that was actually known for being a little on the cruel side. And I'm like, actually, there is a legitimate Pokemon called the Cruel Pokemon. That's Liepard. Liepard is known as the Cruel Pokemon. It's basically a dark leopard that plays with its food, including sucker punching, beating individuals, all that. So, and it's very elegant, much as Wednesday kind of is. So Liepard, I think, made the most sense for that. But the last one, for whatever reason, her playing the cello, being able to play it, stuck out with me. So I knew I wanted something that represented either her craft, like, say, her writing, as we said. Again, I'm going a lot by the series here. That's the image I found. But her, I think, where's her? Her ability to play the cello or whatnot. Something that goes more with what her actual hobbies as an individual are. And believe it or not, there technically is a cello Pokemon. Kricketune. Technically, Kricketune is a violin, but technically he's a cello, too. He's a walking bug cricket cello. Now, granted, he doesn't sound like a cello, but when you actually get to his design, he is designed and shaped like at least a string instrument of the cello violin family. And this also can lend a little bit to what we learned in the series of her having a pet scorpion that was unfortunately killed. So having a love for insects. So, I don't know. I mean, look, this is just where I go in my mind for this. I like about half this team. Some of it, the two ghost types honestly could be interchanged, but I like about half the team. I also think the Kricketune could maybe be interchanged. I think the Liepard, the Mimikyu, and the Gothorita definitely could stay. I might even keep the Trevenant, but it's all interchangeable. Still, we now ask the most important question at the end of any of these videos. How balanced is this team? And I'm going to tell you right now, this team gets kind of gets shit on by bug types. Half the team is either grass, which is weak to bug, dark, or psychic, all of which are extremely weak to bug types. Also, half this team is straight out just going to get clobbered by dark types. Well, Mimikyu's got a little bit of an edge there because of the fairy type, but you still got 2 ghosts, 1 pure ghost, and you got a pure psychic type as well. Even if we were to fully evolve these guys, it wouldn't change anything in terms of like type disadvantages. Third of the team is weak to fire. The grass and the bug type are weak to fire as well. Now that being said, though, half the team is immune to normal, immune to normal and fighting, which is perfectly great. Any immunity you can get is good. Another part of the team is immune to psychic, which is good. Beyond that, there's not much else you can really go into. I mean, both Mimikyu and Trevenant also share a weakness to poison, grass, and fairy, respectively. But beyond that, I mean, it's not the worst team in the world. It's got some pretty obvious weaknesses to it. Still, though, this is the team I created. What do you think of this team? Let me know in the comments below. But this is the team for Wednesday Addams. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks next time.